Did you know that technology could potentially affect or even benefit a divorce process? And to talk about this, we invited board-certified family law attorney at Alder Lundy, Kim Maxwell. Hi, Kim. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So happy that you're here because, as mentioned, we just don't think about these things, right? Tracking devices and how it could be beneficial or affect a process. Talk about what you're dealing with your clients right now, if you're at liberty to speak about that.
Of course. So we have been dealing with GPS tracking for many years now, obviously in cellular telephones. However, recently, as technology progresses, there are more and more devices that you may not even be aware of that have GPS tracking capabilities. For example, I brought with me my Apple AirTag. So I use this when I travel. I throw it in my luggage. It's a great resource. It's not a great device when it comes to tracking other individuals. That's not what the purpose is for. We also have the small watches for children that aren't necessarily of the age to have a cell phone yet.
Okay.
And they have a button to call mom, a button to call another parent, 911. That's what the watch is for. But internally also has GPS tracking on it. And so it's just something to be aware of and conscious of if you're going through a divorce process or your family is separating.
Talk about children. You just mentioned that they might have these type of devices. Can an ex track kids, and is that even legal in this process?
So it all comes down to consent. So if you're in an intact marriage, then either parent can consent for the child to be tracked through an application or some sort of device. But the minute that marriage is no longer intact, that's either whether a petition for divorce has been filed or not. Even if you've just separated and you're no longer living as a family unit, then you must obtain the consent of the other parent if you intend on tracking the child while they're physically with the other parent. Because if you're tracking the child with the parent, you're also tracking the parent.
Right.
So you have to obtain consent. And then, of course, even if you do obtain consent, you have to look out for that consent to potentially be withdrawn, in which case you have to stop the tracking immediately.
And that's where things get a little bit dicey, if you will, right? I mean, is this being used in the court of law, family court of law, for, for advantage for one of the parents? How is that happening?
I mean, potentially, if the purpose of the tracking should be to understand your child's whereabouts and confirm their safety. So if it's being utilized for a different purpose, not only is it a misdemeanor, a second-degree misdemeanor, so there's a criminal statute that states that you're not permitted to track an individual without their consent, unless you're in the intact marriage and those types of things. But even then, that's just with regard to your child.
Right.
Tracking another adult, you absolutely need their consent. Otherwise, you can be convicted of a crime. And even if you aren't convicted, if you are in family law litigation or you're potentially about to be in family law litigation, even if you don't get caught, you will eventually. I haven't seen a case where somebody hasn't gotten caught. It comes out in the wash at some point in time, and your family law judge can take that behavior into consideration, regardless of whether or not you're actually convicted of it.
Can we have a few seconds about this? But what kind of evidence are you guys evaluating when you bring these topics into the court?
Well, we're looking at the best interest of the children most of the time, if we're talking about the kids. And that's where this type of evidence would be potentially damaging for a parent if they are using the tracking for a purpose that is something other than understanding the safety of their child.
So if you find the device, for example, that kind of evidence like that, you happen to find those.
I mean, we had a tracking device sewn inside of a child's stuffed animal.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
And the court was obviously not pleased with that behavior.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for bringing that information into light, because I don't think a lot of us do even realize that there could be a problem if you're going through a separation or some type of event of that matter. If you're experiencing this in real life as a scenario, well, you can also contact Alder Lundy Law. All the information on your screen.